As we close out week 1 of Old Testament survey, we were talking about the Abrahamic covenant, looking at the primeval history, and then the question that I posted later in the week was asking about how the primeval history relates to the Abrahamic covenant. As I said in that video, of course, the three elements of the Abrahamic covenant, the idea of land, the promise of seed, and the promise of a relationship with God as characterized by blessing and curse, seen in Genesis 12, 1 through 3. This is the controlling promise that will control the rest of the patriarchal material. Even we're going to see as we move into Exodus and Leviticus and Numbers and Deuteronomy, that this promise also is an important element of the theology of those four books as well. But we see in the lives of the patriarchs that this promise, this threefold promise, is in the process of being fulfilled throughout the whole time. We see Abraham immediately, he goes to the promised land, but then he leaves it. He goes into Egypt, and so the promise is put into peril. His wife, he passes off as a sister, and that the promise of the seed is put into peril there. And of course, the rest of his life is centered on this waiting for the promise and waiting for the birth of Isaac. And of course, Abraham does several things that puts that promise in peril, if you excuse the alliteration there. And so the driving question in the life of Abraham is, will this promise be fulfilled? Well, not necessarily that, but rather, how will this promise be fulfilled? The readers would understand that the promise did become fulfilled. The question would be, how would it come fulfilled? Of course, eventually Isaac is born, and immediately Isaac is put into peril, and Abraham has the opportunity to demonstrate his faithfulness. Throughout his life, he demonstrated partial faithfulness, but not complete faithfulness. And then once Isaac is born, he does demonstrate complete faithfulness, being willing to even sacrifice the son of the promise for the sake because Yahweh told him to, and demonstrating that he now trusts Yahweh completely, that Yahweh will fulfill his promise, even if things don't seem it doesn't seem to be going that way. And of course, immediately after that happens, Yahweh says, "Now I know I've seen that you're willing to do this. Now I surely will bless you." We'll see a reiteration of that promise. I will surely bless you with seed, surely bless you with land, and then of course there's that relationship, the blessing and cursing that goes there. We see in the life of Jacob, he is thrown out of the land because he tricked his father for the blessing. Again, not showing complete faithfulness. He goes into the land, and his life is put into peril. So there's the promise of the seed and the promise of relationship. He leaves the land, so the promise of the land that's put into peril, of course, when he comes back. And then, of course, there's the life of Judah and Joseph, again, the life of the seed is put into peril. But also they end the book of Genesis in Exodus, which is outside the land. So the question of the land is still left unfulfilled. The seed is certainly fulfilled by the end of Genesis, in that we have thousands we have the whole family and all of their people in Egypt. So the seed has certainly been fulfilled, but the promise of the land is still up in the air. And so that's how that plays out through the patriarchal material of Genesis. And we're going to pick up in Exodus. We're going to see, the promise of the seed has been fulfilled, but what about getting back to the land? And of course, we're going to see more formalization of that relationship as well. If we look backwards at the primeval history, we see that these elements of land, seed, and relationship are present even in Genesis 1 through 11. The beginning, God creates the heavens and the earth. He creates a land. He puts the people in the land. So there's the land. He says, "Be fruitful, multiply." There's the seed. And of course, he has a relationship with them. He blessed them. He blessed them. So we see that. And then, of course, when the fall happens, all three elements are broken. We see that when God confronts Adam and Eve, the man and the woman, as they're called in the text, he first of all, he curses the land. He says that you'll have to work and toil. He curses the seed. He says that he increases the labor or the pain of labor for the woman. And of course, there is this idea of the seed that's going to be that plays out in that proto-evangelism, a proto-evangelion. But all of those elements are put into peril in the fall, and of course we see that we see that this idea that the land is cursed, and then of course when we get to the flood narrative, obviously the land suffers because of that, and all of the seed that has been spread throughout the world is destroyed except for Noah and his family, and of course that's put into peril immediately. So we see a breakdown of those elements, these three elements that were established at creation. What we see by the end of the primeval history is a breakdown of that, and so what we see then in Abraham is God setting things right, putting them back to how they were at the beginning, where the land, the seed, and the relationship, blessing and curse, was established in right order. He starts with Abraham to reestablish that over humanity. And of course, we're going to see the ultimate fulfillment of that in Christ. And this is why in Revelation these themes do pick up again, that we have a promised land that is the new heaven and the new earth. The seed is the whole church that's brought in. Of course, relationship with God. He will live amongst them. So, of course, these elements are picked up later. But essentially in Abraham, what God is doing is taking what was broken, what was established at the beginning, what was broken, what was lost in the garden, and rebuilding that and reestablishing that through Abraham and through his seed. And we're going to see that through the rest of the text.